in a situation where life felt like it hit a pause button? This could be a job interview, a failed relationship, or even a decision that backfired. In those moments, we tend to ask, why is this happening to me? But what if we flip the script and instead of asking, why me, we choose to ask, what is this teaching me? The simple shift from a victim to a learner can change everything. Hi, I'm Dr. GAUTAM. And no, I'm not a PhD, but a dentist turned recruitment professional. Quite an unusual shift, right? Well, my life journey has been a bit unconventional with unexpected turns, and it's going to unfold as we go along. And today, I would love to share with you all a few tenets that have helped me, and perhaps they may going to inspire you to reimagine your life story. I call these tenets my mantras. So let me begin with my very first mantra. Reframe every obstacle into an opportunity. I come from a very modest background. We lived in a dimly lit alley in Bangalore where 8 small houses huddled together, each with its own story. And my family lived in one of those. At the end of the alley were 2 shared toilets, a distant reminder of our reality. One of the things that my mother always said, and what I vividly remember, was to use the toilets before the darkness falls. Now, this wasn't anything to do with the fear or scarcity, but this was about teaching us to be mindful, adaptable, and to maximize with whatever we had. So I grew up seeing the world as half full and not half empty. And in fact, I started seeing opportunities in the smallest of things. It's this mindset that's been a foundation for everything that I've done in my life so far. Remember, our backgrounds can be modest, but our dreams can soar. Have you seen how a few people thrive despite difficulties, while a few crumble in the same situation? But why? That's because the way they interpret the same event is radically very different. Let me give you an example. Imagine 2 people stuck in traffic. One fumes and says, "Oh, why is this happening to me? My day is ruined." While the other feels, "Great, I'm going to use this time to listen to that podcast I've been meaning to catch up for long." So now, the traffic is the same, but the experience is worlds apart. So what you focus on grows. If you focus on problems, they're going to expand. Instead, focus on the possibilities and solutions will reveal themselves. Now this learning led me into my next important mantra. Your career path is not a Google map. It's like a compass. We're often told, find your passion, as if our lives come with a perfectly laid out GPS route. But in real life, our careers are never a straight line, isn't it? Sometimes it's like a compass, and you will have to recalibrate. As a child, I was so fascinated with being called Dr. Uma. And I worked hard because I wanted to get into medicine and secured a medical seat in a distinguished college in Bangalore. But then destiny had something else in store. I lost the medical seat due to an unforeseen recounseling event, and it felt like, the Google Maps then had disappeared in my life. So I took a detour and chose dentistry. And that's because it seemed like a more logical decision at that point of time. But as I studied, I realized that wasn't my calling. So my learning here is, it's not necessary for you to know the exact route for your destination. Sometimes you may have to take a turn, at times a detour, and many a times you may even hit a dead end. But then, what's important is for you to move forward and trust the process of life. After all, life is a path of discovery. In fact, Gallup conducted this very interesting survey, and what came out is the fact that more than 85% of the people across the globe are disengaged with their jobs. Quite stark. And no wonder most of us are so hesitant to take risks. But if you have to stop feeling stuck and start moving forward, the only way out for you is to embrace change. So this detour in my life led me into learning my third mantra: turn every failure into a feedback. So after completion of my dental course, I started practicing under a renowned dentist in Bangalore. But little did I know that in about 2 years' time, I'll be given a pink slip and be asked to leave. I was blindsided, and during the exit discussions, my dentist told me that I lacked passion. Now, that was hard-hitting. After investing 7 long years into this journey, it felt like my world had come crashing down. But did I dwell in it for too long? Not really. I could have let that failure consume me. But instead, I took a decision to take a leap into the unknown. My own adventure of doing a wrong career choice inspired me to make a transition into recruitment. And I was determined to guide others to make right career choices. So your career is all about finding your true north. Does not matter at what age or at what stage of life this happens. And growth and comfort cannot coexist. Failure is inevitable. But what if we stopped calling this failure and start calling this feedback? With this simple shift, every mistake becomes a data, every misstep becomes a stepping stone, and every rejection becomes a redirection. Take Thomas Edison. He failed more than 10,000 times while inventing the light bulb, but he didn't give up. Instead, he said, "I'm not failed. I've only found 10,000 ways that won't work." Quite an invaluable lesson this was to me. And that led me to learn my fourth mantra, which is to make a decision and make it work. After I transitioned into recruitment, I excelled in my work and I started rising through the ranks very quickly. But then, like most women, I struggled to strike a chord between my motherhood while I was being at the peak of my professional years. And added to that, I had already lost my first child by then. And so, when I became a mother for the second time, the pressure on me to be able to create a path that will allow me to strike a chord between my personal life and my career was all the more important. And that's when I took a plunge into the entrepreneurial journey. Well, I wasn't bitten by any entrepreneurial bug. Becoming an entrepreneur then was a necessity. At times, you will have to learn to operate without a plan B. And remember, life is full of surprises and it will keep throwing up opportunities at your end. And when that happens, you just have to grab it and just do it. Now this brings me to my fifth mantra. But before I get there, I have a question to you all. How many of you here have delayed starting something important just because you were waiting for that perfect time? Thank you. Well, Jeff Bezos the founder of Amazon, says that if you're 70% sure of something, just go for it. Because waiting for 100% certainty is like waiting forever. Some people get too caught up in analysis paralysis. At times, getting into too much detailing can only lead to missed opportunities. And you don't have to cross every T and dot every I. Action is more important than being perfect. This leads me to my 6th mantra, consistency over motivation. Don't get me wrong, motivation is way too overrated. While it's important to feel inspired, what brings us long-term success is consistency. And consistency is the only thing that differentiates achievers from dreamers. Think of any life situation for that instance. Let's say nurturing relationships. If you have to build strong relationships, you have to consistently make time for people who matter to you. You will have to hear them out, show some small act of kindness, check in on them, and be available for them. Not just that. Take an example of staying fit and healthy. Your health does not change overnight. You need to build good habits and a lot of discipline around it. And not just that, you will have to show up even on the days when you're not up to it. This could be a simple thing like walking or a working out regimen or making healthier choices. Consistency does matter. Or even if it's at your workplace, you'll have to consistently deliver value if you expect your employers, your team, your colleagues, and your clients to build trust on you. And we've all heard the story of the hare and the tortoise. The hare had bursts of energy, but it lost its focus, whereas the tortoise was slow and steady, and he wins the race. Life is exactly the same. And you have to remember that being slow and steady is not something like a cliche, but it's a strategy. And amidst all this, what if self-doubt creeps in? That's my 7th mantra, self-doubt is a liar. Raise your hands if you've ever felt that you are not good enough, or what if you fail? Well, you're not alone. I've been there too, and I've suffered imposter syndrome. Your inner critic always talks to you based on assumptions. It's like that broken record talking all your insecurities and fears. You just have to treat it like that annoying colleague of yours. Listen to it, but don't take its advice. Instead, recognize the thought, reframe it with a positive connotation, and redirect it with a small step forward. Now that brings me to the 8th mantra. Your inner circle is what defines you. Hence, curate them very carefully. I'm sure you all have heard this phrase that you are an average of the 5 people with who you interact the most, and I cannot agree more. Think of the people around you. Are these the ones who are bringing in the best version of you, or are these the ones who are holding you back? Just as Arjuna had Krishna in the Mahabharata, it's important for us to find a mentor, a coach, a sounding board, or a supportive figure who's there for us to offer a different perspective or get us to think differently when we feel the road ahead is blurred. My mentors have played a very significant role in my life, and I invite you all to find your tribe. And this brings me to my last mantra, the magic of fillers. Success is not just about doing something to earn your paycheck. There's more to it. Success is also about doing something meaningful to create a fulfilling life. Psychologists call this eudaimonic happiness, which means doing something which is in alignment with your purpose of life and outside of your professional identity. These could be activities that makes you feel alive. These could be volunteering or contributing for a cause, running, swimming, whatever it is. But it's these fillers that kind of sustains the life's ups and downs. In fact, for me, it was all about reconnecting with my medical background and becoming a national TV anchor and raising public health awareness. It's these fillers that enrich my life, and I hope that does it to you too. Before I call it a close, I would like to leave you all with this thought. If I could don multiple hats and rewrite my life story, so can you. Mind you, your mindset is your greatest ally, and that's the seatbelt to the life's roller coaster. And as Carl Jung rightly said, you are not what happens to you, but you are who you choose to become. Namaskara.